There was a colorful chant directed towards you. It seems as though you may be New York's newest villain. Is that kind of the ultimate compliment?
I guess I'm nowhere near Trae Young level, though.
The mic drop at the end, though. Wemby, obviously in a lot of physical plays last night. Perk, if this comes down to physicality, does it favor more the Knicks or the Spurs going forward?
The Spurs. And it's not even close. And it's what we've been highlighting all series and today. Stephen, they touched on it, the size of the perimeter play for the San Antonio Spurs. You know, you got Dylan Harper, you got Vassell, you got Champagnie, you got Castle. I was watching Castle warm up yesterday, and he listed at 6'5", and I'm sitting up there watching. He's every bit of 6'7". Every bit of 6'7", 6'8", if you want to talk about his hair being up. You know what I mean? Real talk. And so when you think about that, along with their actual size, like these ain't guys that's just scrawny like a Mikal Bridges type frame. These are guys that are thicker than a kindergarten pencil. You know what I mean? When it comes to what they're able to do. And so, again, if they're able to be physical, especially with Jalen Brunson on the perimeter, and you're able to pick him up 94 feet, you're able to deny him with a certain level of physicality. If Keldon Johnson is able to play football like he did last night with Karl Anthony Towns and get into a wrestling match, it looked like two offensive linemen trying to, get position. If they're able to do that, the Knicks are going to be in trouble. So it's part of the reason that Mike Brown went off the way that he did is because he knows the Spurs are not going to change. They're not going to change. Look at this. I'm saying, look at it. Look at Val. Look at the grabbing. It's real. It's real in the trenches. And if they're able to get it away and the refs let it play out, Knicks could be in trouble.
I'm going with the Spurs. I think Perk is right when you're talking about the perimeter. But when you're talking about in the paint, the first couple games, Wemby, that's all that he's complaining about. Wemby's not being Wemby. When Wemby posts up, he starts at the box. But time he gets the ball, they're forearming him to where he's in the three-point line and the foul line, and then he spins around, he's not even near the basket anymore. I think OG Anunoby, I think Mitch Robinson, whenever he does get the minutes, and even Karl Anthony Towns, we're talking about how we got the best defender in the NBA getting outplayed by Karl Anthony Towns because of the physicality. Now, Kendrick Perkins, I agree with you when it comes to the perimeter. But if it's going to favor somebody, the Knicks have to be just as tough as they was in Game 1 and 2 and Game 4, and I think they went away from that.
I think a physical game favors the Knicks. Here's what I mean by that. In Game 1, the Spurs were physical early. Knicks were complaining. Excuse my language, I'm just quoting. Rick Brunson, assistant coach on the Knicks, father to Jalen Brunson, went over to the team and said, stop bitching. Deal with it. This is what it is. And from that moment forward, the New York Knicks answered the call. See, what happens is that you have to get to a point where you adapt and you accept the fact that this is a reality. When you look at Wembanyama, he's 7'5". He's 235 pounds. He ain't the only thing complimentary you can say about his physique is that he ain't Chet Holmgren. Okay, you say he's skinny. He's got to put on some muscle is all I'm trying to say. That's it. My point is that the combination of that and running up and down the floor and not paying at a crawl-like pace helps you. The New York Knicks was 27th in pace of play, but they sped it up over that 13-game stretch, and they were a bit more significant pushing the ball up the court. You saw Wemby breathing heavy in games 1 and 2. It wasn't just because of the physicality once Brunson got in his teams behind. It was also because the New York Knicks used that and a combination of pushing the ball up the court to have him breathing and heaving and looking for air and having to go to the bench. And he's 22 years of age. So what happens is that if you're able to do that and you're able to neutralize Wemby, then that's going to work to your advantage. It might not work as effectively against a Castle, against a Dylan Harper or somebody like that. But remember, De'Aaron Fox had the high ankle sprain. He ain't 100%. Dylan Harper did have the hamstring injury. You never know whether or not that could come back. If you push the ball up the floor, but also engage in a level of physicality, who want to really be physical with OG Anunoby? The brother's a linebacker playing football.
Yeah.
These are linebacker playing football. You don't want to engage in a physical contest with him. If you're the New York Knicks, you can make the adaptation if you're able to know that you're going to get away with the physicality, because the person that's going to have the most profound effect on is Wemby. It may not affect the San Antonio Spurs collectively as much as you would like, but it's going to affect him. And if it affects him, that helps the New York Knicks.
Okay, respectfully, so do it. So why haven't they done it?
Because you're worried about, like he said, he wasn't getting the calls. He wasn't getting the calls.
But you're going to all of a sudden get the calls?
No. But what I'm saying is this is where we got to give Mitch Johnson a lot of credit. Like, he protected Wemby last night. It's a reason we didn't see Wemby gas. You know why? Because he didn't have the assignment of guarding Karl Anthony Towns. That was a huge discussion, a huge problem in games 1 and game 2. Karl Anthony Towns was exposing Wemby. Karl Anthony Towns was driving by Wembanyama every time he got the ball and finishing at the basket. Nobody in the league was doing that. And then all of a sudden, as a player, you have to put your pride aside. Because I know it wasn't an easy task for Mitch Johnson to say, Wemby, you know what? We got to do what's best for the team. We're going to put you on Josh Hart. Because Wemby is a prideful guy. In his mind, as a defensive player of the year, you want that smoke. I want to check that. He going to have to bust my head to the white meat. But at the end of the day, what he did was he protected him by putting him on Josh Hart. Now, what does that do? Wemby didn't leave the paint. He's not running out to the three-point line contesting Josh Hart. He ran out to the corners when there was shooters there, but that's a shorter run. And so now, all of a sudden, he has more energy. But again, he had more energy because guess what? Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox finally woke up and was in attack mode. They wasn't probing. They was getting downhill, especially Stephon Castle. The buckets he was finishing in traffic with them and ones, he might be the most.
Times they didn't even call the foul.
Seriously, he might be the most physical perimeter player that we have in the league. Stephon Castle.
Okay, no question.
No question. Real talk, I don't care if it's barbecue smoke, cigarette smoke, he's running to it. He embraces it. And so that's why I think it favors the Spurs, but we just got to tip our hat to Mitch Johnson. I've been on him, and I wonder what was the adjustments he was going to make going into Game 3, and now it's on Mike Brown.
Yeah, but
going into Game 4.
But what you just said is that's why I said it got to be the Knicks. There's no way in the world that Keldon Johnson should be making Karl Anthony Towns have a bad game. That's up to Karl Anthony Towns to get physical with Keldon Johnson. Now, it's looking like, to your point, that's a great adjustment for Mitch Johnson. But you're Karl Anthony Towns. You should not be having any problems physicality-wise with Keldon Johnson, my personal opinion.
Nah, but Cam, this is what I'm telling you. A big man hates it, bro. You could guard me for a possession.
Right.
If I'm trying to run down the floor and you meet me and you get into my legs, they teach that in the film room. The film room is, hey, listen, if you're a guard, we need you to get in the fight, take out the big man legs. And when you have 7'5" roaming on the backside, it's hard to give the over-the-top pass is not there. Right. The entry pass is not there. So again, what are you gonna do? The one time Karl Anthony Towns had success, he got fouled by De'Aaron Fox. They isolated him at the top of the key and they spreaded the floor. And I kept saying, why you don't go back to it? That's where you got to get him the ball. That's when we saw Jokic start getting the ball at the nail area. Right. You can't get double teamed. It's hard for a guy to deny you, and now you got all the room in the world.
He's going to grow into his body, and he's going to be every bit the star that we anticipate he is and will be. Wembanyama.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yep. We know this, and give Mitch Johnson a whole lot of credit because he did a great job, no doubt about it. We called out what he didn't do in games 1 and 2. It's only right to call out what he did do in game 3. But the thing about it is, and that's why you know me, I love my boxing. So you sit up there and you think about it, right? Even with a boxer, you're throwing punches, but you're still targeting the legs. It's not just because of foot movement. If you walk into a ring, for example, and you're going up against somebody bigger than you, the first order of business they're trying to do is lay hands on you, obviously. The second order of business is that even when they miss, they want to lean on you, especially if they look at your legs and they don't see that they're tree trunks. I keep harkening back to when Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder. And he said, even when I miss, I'm just going to lean on him. He said, because I'm going to come in the ring about 35, 40 pounds heavier than him. And when I miss and I lean on him, by about the fourth round or something, he ain't going to have any legs. When Floyd Money Mayweather fought, Conor McGregor, he told me before the fight, he said, I'm going to stay in his chest. I said, you don't stay in anybody's chest. He said, with him, I will, because a striker wants to be able to punch. Well, in order to punch, you got to have leverage. He said, I'm going to be right in his chest. He's going to push off, and he's going to push off, and then he's going to throw. He's going to push off, and then he's going to throw. He said, and when I have him circling and circling and circling, his legs are going to go. And by about the sixth round, he's going to be laying right there waiting for me. Basketball-wise, you look at Wemby, it's like a pole. His legs are that skinny. You look at him from the top, from the bottom to the top, and just watch him. And it's all legs, and he's 7'5". You got to have somebody that's a little bit smaller, compact, just leaning on him and leaning on the back of his legs when he's trying to post up and just wearing him out, because that kind of stuff matters. When you look at some of the successful players throughout NBA history, they got some girth on them. And even the cats that are slightest frame. Look at Steph Curry. Look at Steph Curry. He's a relatively small dude, but 6'3". But look at how defined he became as the years went on. And look at his legs as well. He has them. Why? Because you're going to need them in order to be able to do the kind of things you do. I don't give a damn who you are. If your legs go, you're going.
But we do got to give Wemby credit. Since he's come in the league, he's put on about 20 pounds.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Listen,
not taking anything away. No but compliment about him.
Knicks were 2-11 on shots contested by Wemby last night. They were 0 for 4 in the fourth quarter, so he is doing something right. SGA is an exclusive company as a two-time MVP, but is there a larger issue with his style of play?